Good morning. It's Wednesday morning. It's 9 a.m. You're watching Innovation Fika with me, Donny, here live from Stockholm, Sweden. And it's a blue sky. Came from nowhere. Blue sky, beautiful blue sky, sunshine, fantastic morning. And as usual, my 30-minute coffee break, the fastest half an hour in the world, broadcast from Stockholm, Sweden, with me, Donny, meeting lots of cool people, talking about lots of cool things. That's what it is. Coffee break. Fika, Swedish Fika. Good morning. Cheers. Anyway, all the episodes are recorded and saved on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube, you will, after this episode, if you see the number in the screen, find 170 episodes of Innovation Fika. Lots of really interesting content. Anyway, enough about that. So today I'm here with two brothers. One is on the way, one is still on the way on the subway. We'll see if he gets in here. But anyway, it's two co-founders of a really cool startup called Intellectus. And as we get going, I will ask my guest the same question I ask all of my guests. Mm-hmm. So just, who are you and what do you do? In a short version.
Of course. Yes, my name is Abod. I'm one of the co-founders of Intellectus. Intellectus is an AI teacher assistant that helps teacher everything from planning, grading, doing all other administrative tasks that usually takes a long time to do manually. And we started this, it started everything with you. Yeah. 1 year ago, I think approximately in February.
Yeah, it was a year ago, yeah.
I think it was a year ago. So me and my brother, we saw a few newsletters and newspapers about what's going on with the teacher profession, the most burned out profession in Sweden, 40% are burned out. No one wants to be a teacher anymore. We thought, hey, this is a hot topic now, AI and this new technology that can solve a lot of problems. So let's try to figure out something and perhaps have.
So you actually decided to develop an AI solution for teachers and not for students. Because everybody else is running for the students, right? Yeah. Help people learn. But this is one of the few that is actually only focusing on the teachers.
Exactly. So about that, we did a bigger research with sending out and interviewing like principal of schools, teachers, and even students to just notice where AI can fit in and where they see it most of the problem nowadays. And we thought that it was going to be like mixed 50-50, that students need this as much as teachers, or mostly students, just as you said. But it turned out that most principals and most teachers said, oh, we spend too much time on this, on that, on this. And then it's just like a round cycle of problems. So that if the teachers are in the middle, and if we solve their core problems, then that will have like the positive effects on students as well.
Yeah, if the teachers get more time for the students, it would hopefully improve the education.
Yeah.
We need to help the teachers, people. Yeah. Awesome. This is cool. As usual, as you come online, add who you are, where you're from. It's always nice to get live comments. We do this live because we want people to interact with us. And we want people to get a chance to ask the people I get to meet questions as well. I mean, I could just record this and do it as a podcast. But what's the fun in that? I mean, I enjoy the whole live interaction thing.
Exactly.
Anyway, so what I like, so this, we're talking parallel, both about Intellectus, but also about your entrepreneurial journey.
Sure.
Because what I do like about the way you went about it was that you saw a problem like in the newspaper. I said, hey, this is a problem. And then you said, can we find out if this is a problem?
Exactly.
And then you started asking people if they thought it was a problem.
And we did that because we have read a lot about like startups and doing a journey and starting a company. And what the main problems that people usually go through is that, they start building out a product.
Yeah.
And put in all of these features to the product without actually anyone using it. So I think we had around like 4 months phase where we pretty much just had an easy, like very simple landing page. And then I was going after with cold emails, trying to interview teachers and principals.
By the book. This is by the book. You should study these guys in Intellectus, if nothing else, just because, they've actually done it. It's really cool. Please go on. Yeah, and then you did that with the landing page, and just to get.
Well, we did the simple landing page, and then I just started going out there and like, hey, where do these teachers put most of their time nowadays?
Yeah.
And do you think that this is an inefficient process? Is there a way to figure it out?
Yeah.
And simply just being an interviewer to them, like talking for 5 minutes and letting them talk for 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was how it began.
Yeah.
That was the first phase, and then the second phase was more of, okay, let's start actually thinking of how we can put this problem and generate it somewhere.
And another thing that you did early on, I mean, I've been following this team now for a year now. Another thing that you did early on was you started actually building a user group of people, getting people together that were sort of the ones that like got it. I mean, the like early adopters. You got them like in a was it a Facebook group, or what did you?
Yeah, so we started a Facebook group. I think you advised that in the beginning as well. And then I just DM'd maybe 20 people on LinkedIn, teachers that I know. I was like, hey, we started this like Facebook group. And then a few months later, just people started inviting each other in, and in a few months we got like 1,000 teachers into the group.
Wow, but that's an and that was just also inviting them into the group to a place where they could meet other people who were interested in the subject.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, content marketing at its fullest.
And it wasn't anything related with us at Intellectus. No. It was just like, hey, this is AI for teachers. Everyone is trying to navigate this.
Yeah.
Please talk with each other.
And that for you, that must have been an incredible learning. I mean, the place to learn as well about.
Yeah. Because we didn't think that it would go like that organic.
Yeah.
We thought that we need to push it, and we didn't have time to push it. It was just like some simple initiatives. And then in the beginning, we needed to put up an open question for everyone, and then they started like.
Yeah, but isn't that also proof that the problem that you thought was a problem proved to be a problem?
Yeah,
and I think this is one of my favorite subjects, is the understanding of need, because it's one thing to read in the paper and say, oh, this group or the world has this need. The second part of that is, but do they understand that they have a need? And the third part of that is, they might understand it, but are they prepared to do something about it? Which is usually where it goes wrong as well, because you can tell anyone that, oh, you should stop smoking or lose weight or start exercising or stop making war, and everybody knows that they should do that, but they don't. So that I think you've done it really, really well, that you have also a really good group where you haven't sort of forced it, and you haven't sort of, you're not selling to them, and you just have collected people that experience the same kind of need, which then gives you tons of information about the group itself.
And then we did another phase where, like, after we saw people coming in, we started a messenger group for the group, for the Facebook group, and then that got a lot of engagement as well. Like people.
So where are you now? I mean, what's the status right now then?
So we launched the MVP in October last year, and that got tested by 200 teachers. And it was also a very simple MVP, just to get it out there and see how teachers would react.
Yeah,
we got some positive feedback from that, and the amount of hours that they saved them estimated, of course. And since then, we've been trying to build an actually scalable product that could be used in every school everywhere in Sweden and the world.
What would you say? I mean, now that you've sort of come, I mean, now that you're also, I mean, now you have immersed yourself into the problem. Now you know it. I mean, that's a big part of actually understanding, empathetically what the problem is, and not just thinking somebody has a problem. Yeah. What would you say? I mean, I have two questions. I have 1,000 questions.
Sure. We can take them.
I mean, but one, of course, which is the most obvious one, but has your how do you feel about teachers and the teaching profession now that you are sort of in it than when you were looking at it from the outside?
Well, it's kind of because we had our assumptions, having had teachers before in primary, high schools, that like they don't have enough time to do this and that, but then when you actually talk to them and try to understand, well, they have all of these responsibilities that are not even close to the main profession of teaching, like to the core, to why they are teachers, which is standing there in a classroom and teaching students. And they spend 70-80% of their time just on communicating, doing some other reports, sending email, planning throughout the whole course, and giving feedback. So you sort of you feel sorry for them in a way, because it is underappreciated, like the profession as a whole. And we also see it in the news.
Has your respect for the teacher profession?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, and they're also incredibly easy to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a B2B background, so coming in here, I didn't know what to expect, having meetings and so on. But they are incredibly open. They appreciate that we are coming here, trying to solve and have a small impact on this profession as a whole. And yeah, they go along with that pretty.
Yeah, but I think also you've had a very humble approach when it comes to. I've been following your case for the project for over a year now, and I think that you always have a very humble approach to that. We're trying to fix something. We don't know best because we aren't teachers. We know the tech side, but we don't know the teacher profession. And I think that's a very, very good way of approaching it, being sort of super humble and not sort of trying to tell people that you know how things are supposed to be done, because you don't. It's so I think that was question number one. And question number two then was, what is the now that you're sort of in it and you're building your product and you're heading into a launch of a first actual product soon, what is what is the main thing that you would want to help sort of fix or improve? And what's the main thing that you would want to actually help with?
The main thing we want to help for the profession as a whole, saving them a few hours per week. That's all. I don't think it needs to be more complicated than that. No. If a task takes 45 minutes to do, if we can take that time and with the help of our AI workflows, minimize it into 10 minutes, and then you replicate that a few times per week, we've saved them a few hours so they don't need to work overtime during the evenings. And there's a lot of teachers that I've interviewed that say, well, I need to sit there in a Friday evening, like doing the exams and giving feedback. And they don't even have enough time to give a in-depth feedback for the students to improve on that.
I don't work as a teacher, but I work as a business coach at the university. So I meet a lot of people, and my main job should be to meet people in a business coaching situation and talk about their projects and
help them.
Exactly. That should. But I also see how the administrative tasks sort of take a bigger and bigger chunk of my time, and then we have multiple other projects that we're running and so forth, and then you sort of and it's kind of strange because I can only talk for myself and my situation and my profession, but I feel that sometimes we sort of forget about that. Hey, the main point of this exercise is actually sitting down with people and helping them with their projects. But instead we get so caught up in everything else that I need to do this report and I do the planning, I'm sending in this grant application, I'm doing this and this and this, which all is sort of part of the bigger picture. But it kind of it takes so much time from the core sort of part of what the job is kind of about. So it's
definitely
So there's a lot of admin, and I can get that.
And of course, we have our tools for the admin, but also improving on making the lesson. I think one of the most during our MVP, one of the best feedbacks we got, and also what we thought we didn't expect, was like the creativity side. So most teachers, let's say they've been doing the same course over and over again for the last 5 years, and they just have like the same lessons and the same structure for lessons that they just repeat every year. And some of them thought that have used AI and have experimented with that, well, hey, like we can also use this to make it more engaging, to find new activities, to try to teach the students in another way. So we implemented a whole new workflow.
That's interesting.
Around brainstorming activity and how to teach, like find new ways to teach this subject matter for teachers.
I mean, that's interesting because I think one of the things I appreciate most with using AI tools isn't to have it do the work for me, but having it to inspire me to do my work differently. That's what I appreciate the most. I could never copy paste something that it's written because it's not my words, and it just looks. I mean, you can see it's not, but I can look at what it's written and I go, okay, now I like that idea, and then we can bounce ideas off each other, and then I can sort of get new inspiration. I mean, that's my favorite. One of my favorite things to do. That's awesome. That's cool.
And then they go through like a workflow. Choose your activity. Choose the lesson you want to be at. What do you want the subject matter to be? and then they get just generated ideas that they can then put into the lesson plan.
Wow.
So it's all like organized, or we have tried to make it organized so that it's as intuitive as possible, and also that the workflow goes around. That this connects with the other, and then everything goes together with the lesson in front of you, which assignments you want to send out as well.
Cool. Well, and where if they are interested, where do I find the information?
Intellectus.app, and we're launching the first planning version next week.
Okay. Okay. I'll add a link in the Intellectus.app as well. We'll add a link in the chat. Okay. So that's the actual startup. But if you're talking about not only what you're doing, but how you're doing it, talk about a bit more about the startup. I mean, lessons learned going forward.
Oh yeah, God, a lot of lessons learned. Yeah. I think the startup as a whole, with the communication and relationship within the team. So I get this a lot, is like, how is it working with your brother? Like, you guys are starting. And some people, especially from the business side, they're like, oh, don't take family and business together. But then it's like you're stuck with your brother. Like, you can't have,
I know.
It's impossible to have bad relationship with them. So you just gotta work through it.
I know. I run companies with my sisters. So I know exactly what it's like.
So I think this has been a learning curve. So there's been a lot of times where it's just been, no, we should do this, no, and then he says, no, we should do the other. So we've tried to implement some sort of decision-making process to get around things, and then be very strict about which responsibilities are mine, which ones are his. But then, of course, still, for a few instances that something happens, and then we argue, and
of course,
but it's
family, right?
Also family, but with if you would have had, now this is my argument for having a brother as a co-founder. If you would have someone that you just don't know, or a stranger, or someone you just met a year ago, it is much harder to go back together after a very harsh argument and disagreement than what you do with your brother. So, and you're gonna have those along the way, either way.
You're completely right. Completely right.
So it's.
But you find, and that's just interesting when it comes to team dynamic perspective. But do you find that working with your brother can make it harder for other team members sometimes, because you kind of sort of, you have this communication that you maybe know stuff, or you're very tight, and you've grown up together, so you can probably understand things without always having to say everything, which can be hard for other people around.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I think that the guys we work with now, they don't know which one is that has the final say. So it's a bit tough, but we try always to not have like, one person decides for all. But we have a few minutes of workshop, like, hey guys, what do you think about this? Some sort of voting, because you're such a small team. Like, you can't rely on one person to do the final decision, or to take the final decision.
I mean, I've grown up in both in. It's interesting because I've grown up both in my own businesses with a very sort of dual leadership with my sister, but then I've also had in my first profession in the army. There's always dual leadership. There's always a first and second in command, and there's always two people.
And how have you differed between the?
No, but then it's all about who is responsible, and in the army, like, one is the CEO and one is the COO usually. So one is operational and one is like the CEO. So, and it just and the hard thing is that you always have to make it very clear to people who is in command and who because you don't want to end up in a situation, because the thing is, it's easier, not an easier, when it's a small team.
When it's a small.
But when you're like 24, when you will become 20, 40, 30, 40 people, you need super clarity, and you don't want to have a situation where you have this mom-dad thing, when when they go to one parent and that parent says no, and then they go to the other one and they say, mom said no, and then dad says, oh honey, go. Because
the usual one.
And I'm not saying that, but people learn very quickly which ways to make things work. So that's something you have to be super clear on which decisions are made by whom and in which way. So that's fine. But how about the other sort of lessons learned from the startup journey? Well, if you were going to say, if you want to start something, don't forget this, or make sure to do this, or things.
Well, I think everyone needs to it's a balance between figuring out that this problem exists, and then once that's finalized, and there's something that is there's something called the idea maze.
Yeah.
I think it's popular like in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
I found it in a few hubs, and it's like going through different steps that are very harsh to figuring out that if this idea is actually validated, and this has some relations with how big the market is, if the market is growing, if it has any future. It's in the beginning it was like, oh, we won't need teachers in the future, and we was like, oh, then why build an AI app for teachers? So it's like, come on. Yeah, exactly. So it's a lot of these that you need to go through, and then when you finalize that problem, it's just like going all in, and getting things done as quickly as possible. Yeah, like don't get arrested in the I figured out the problem. Let's just chill down and try to get the money or wait.
I mean, but I think that's important, because I mean that's a classic mistake that we see over and over again, is that people, they assume there's a problem. They might have spoken to somebody who said, yeah, there's a problem, and then they say, okay, cool, and then they spend like years building technology. And just assuming that everybody's going to love it, and then one day they release it, and then everybody goes, I don't know what this is. Why should I use this? Or I don't have this problem, or or this isn't what I expected, or anything, because they haven't done any validation along the way either.
I mean, I think we still have like a long way to go in the figuring out this startup process, and we're learning so much, like day by day as this is growing. But the feedback loop time, this we've talked about a lot in the startup world. Like always, don't build too much before publishing it and getting the feedback, and then finalizing it. And then always, don't wait until you have like 5,000 people on the wait list before launching anything. Just launch it out there. Get 300 people. Let them give you a good feedback, and then start again.
And I think I'm just nodding here. Another thing there I think is super important is that don't build in too many features from the start. Build the core functionality, invite people in. And then the best, of course, is have them suggest stuff. Maybe even stuff you've thought of yourself.
Exactly.
But let them suggest it, because then it's their suggestion. It will give them ownership of, a sense of ownership of what you're building, because they came up with the idea, which always is stronger than you. Because then again, you don't, you're inviting people into the creative process, and people want to be part of building something good. So I think that's a really strong sort of way of doing it as well. You should be, all startup founders should actually be writing about their journey, like in a journal, like lessons learned. What am I learning? Because you run and you run and run, especially when you're sort of speeding up and you're doing things, and you're learning so much, even though you are not sort of, rationally understanding that you're learning so much. Because the whole process is a learning.
It's chaotic. The whole process is very chaotic.
I know, but it is chaos. You don't understand that. You and your brothers and the team, you are different people today than you were a year ago.
Oh yeah.
And you know so much more. What we're sitting talking about today in a very leisurely manner in front of a camera, and we're having a cup of coffee. You've evolved so much in 1 year. But that also comes back to you, your personality, and your brothers as well.
Yeah.
Because you are, as I said, you're very open-minded, you're very humble, you're open for learning things. So I think that you have the right mindset for being entrepreneurs as well, because you're always open to understand how something can be better. And if you were doing something in a way that didn't work, you'll go, okay, well, how do we do it in a way that could work? And then you ask people, and if they say something you hadn't thought of, you go, oh, fine, that's a great idea, let's do that.
Yeah.
And not sort of, no.
Not having any ego, an ego link with a product or a specific feature. Oh, no, this is good. And then no one's using it. It's
park your ego at the door, because that's never going to work. Yeah. Cool. And anything else? Any last sort of messages to people?
No, or of course, if you have any teachers as relatives or in your family, you can go check out Intellectus.app. We're launching the first planning workflow the module of Intellectus next week.
Yeah.
And hopefully get this out there to as many schools as possible by the end of this year in Sweden.
Well, and aiming to be at least the dominant teacher AI tool in Europe. Right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
That's our main goal.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, thank you for spending a coffee break with me. It was awesome.
Great.
And really nice. I mean, nice talking to you as well in this leisurely manner, and not only sort of product focus like that. I mean, this is cool. I mean, it's nice to get to speak to people in a more sort of laid back manner as well. And anybody listening now or later, if you see a problem you want to fix and you don't remember what you were supposed to do, get in touch with this guy on LinkedIn and just say, hey, what was I supposed to do if I read in the paper, I want to fix this.
Yeah.
And he'll give you some pointers. So, catch up with him on LinkedIn. Hey, awesome. Let's see, look at this. Thanks, Philip. Thanks for adding that. Philip Blomqvist, wish you a great launch. Awesome. We're all looking forward to that one.
Yeah.
So anyway, looking at the time, it's the world's fastest half an hour. We have 2 minutes on the clock. And I just wanted to thank you. Thanks everyone for watching. This will be recorded and saved on YouTube. It will be on LinkedIn for a couple of weeks, but we try and sort of clean up the LinkedIn page and move everything to YouTube. Catch up with Abud and Amar, your brother, on LinkedIn, intellectus.app as well, and also on LinkedIn, Intellectus, right?
Yeah, Intellectus at LinkedIn, yeah.
Okay, cool. And with that, my dear friends, I will say thank you very much. Have a great Wednesday. And I won't see you live next week because I'm traveling to the US next week, but there will be a recording, another really, really cool subject. And I hope that one's going to be provocative. We're going to get a lot of comments on that one.
Okay.
So, but that's next week. And this week is this week. In the now, I thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. And have a great
Wednesday.
Awesome. Thank you.